So I've been thinking a lot lately about this kind of strange idea of what if the end of the world isn't this big, future event we're all bracing for? What if it's something that just quietly passed us by and we didn't even realize it? It feels a bit like a modern prophecy playing out, doesn't it? And well, that thought brings us straight into the heart of this deep dive today. There's this really intriguing new piece of music just released today, actually, July 1st, 2025. It's called Riders of the Pale, and it's really unique. We're not talking about just any song here. This is an AI-generated reinterpretation of, well, a classic, The Doors' 1971 track, Riders on the Storm.
Exactly. And our mission today really is to unpack how this AI adaptation isn't just some cover version. It's more like a darkly poetic, musically resonant reinterpretation. And it offers this, well, this eerily prophetic vision of our near future. We'll take in its three main themes, sort of the core ideas. You've got this chilling techno-dystopia idea.
Right.
Then there's the haunting loss of, like, spiritual memory. And finally, the really fascinating part, the transformative role AI itself plays in art.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that. How did this piece, Riders of the Pale, how was it actually made? What kind of tech, what sort of creative process went into taking such a classic track and making it speak to, well, to 2025?
Well, what's really interesting here is that it was deeply collaborative, a blend, human vision guiding these powerful AI tools.
Yeah.
The creators used a whole suite of technologies, pretty sophisticated stuff. Think language models like ChatGPT, probably for lyrical ideas, right?
Okay.
And visual AI like Meta.ai, maybe Refusion.com, perhaps to shape concepts. And definitely music generators like Suntaro.com to actually craft the sound. On the production side, they used Audacity, the audio editor.
Right, familiar with that.
Version 3.7.1 running on Linux, specifically Ubuntu 24.0.
Yeah.
They even nicknamed it Oracular Oriole, apparently.
Oracular Oriole. That's quite poetic in itself, isn't it, for a piece like this?
It is, yeah. A nice touch. But the human input was absolutely crucial. They guided the AI with a really precise prompt for the voice and music. It was something like male baritone voice, dark, hypnotic, raw.
Okay, very Morrison-esque.
Exactly. And then moody 60s California psychedelic rock fused with jazzy blues, haunting electric piano, trippy blues guitar, echoing bass, laid-back drums with brushes.
Wow, that's specific.
Super specific. It clearly aimed to evoke, the ghost of Jim Morrison, but not just to copy him. It was about building something genuinely new, something for right now.
That paints an incredibly vivid picture of the sound, yeah. So let's get into the core messages then, because this song seems packed with meaning. The first big theme you mentioned is this chilling depiction of a world gripped by techno-dystopia, systemic collapse. What parts of this sort of unraveling society did they really focus on? Did anything jump out at you?
Oh, it's stark. Definitely stark. This song uses incredibly powerful, almost visceral imagery to get this decline across. You hear lyrics like, wolves now hum the market's beat. Right. Or famine sleeps beneath the wheat. It immediately suggests how our economic systems, maybe capitalism itself, have become predatory, automated, almost inhuman. It paints this landscape where technology, which, we hoped was for progress, now seems to be actively contributing to the unraveling of social and ecological systems, as the analysis puts it.
It's not just about the big systems failing, is it? It sounds more personal, too.
Exactly. It's not just environmental or economic. There's that haunting line, children dream in ash and chrome. That really hits you with the emotional toll, right? The communal cost, this kind of unchecked advancement. And the Pale Riders themselves, they aren't just little death figures here. The song uses them to symbolize something called systemic entropy.
Systemic entropy, like things just falling apart?
Kind of, yeah, like a gradual inherent breakdown within complex systems. It leads to this slow, collective unraveling. Not one big, dramatic Hollywood apocalypse, but something quieter, more insidious maybe.
That is a truly stark vision, and it definitely taps into anxieties a lot of us feel about where things are heading with tech. But is there any glimmer of hope in there, or is it mostly a warning? You also mentioned this other theme, the haunting loss of spiritual memory and identity. What's that about?
It leans heavily towards the warning side, I'd say. Not much overt hope offered in the lyrics themselves. And yeah, that theme of collective forgetting myth, meaning sacred memory. That's really powerful. It feels like we're losing touch with the stories, the shared beliefs that used to anchor us, give life meaning.
How does the song show that?
Well, take the line, born where sirens used to sing.
Yeah.
It immediately suggests, that spiritual guidance, those protective myths, they're fading, vanishing. And then there's his touch is memory and death. It implies memory itself isn't a guide anymore. It's become a burden, something that haunts but doesn't necessarily teach or provide clarity.
Wow.
And crucially, that refrain, no name spoken, no way home,
Yeah, that's bleak.
it really captures this profound loss, doesn't it?
Hmm.
Loss of personal identity, cultural roots, ancestors,
Oh.
everything that tells you who you are and where you belong.
Mm.
It leaves people feeling totally unmoored and adrift. The song also deliberately blurs the lines, between God, ghost, and machine, between sacred and profane.
Hmm.
It really pushes you, the listener, to think, okay, what happens when the gods fall silent? What happens when rituals become empty gestures, just going through the motions with no real spirit behind them?
It forces you to look at your own assumptions in this digital age.
Exactly. Our spiritual landscape in a world increasingly defined by code.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. The sheer irony, the power of using artificial intelligence itself to deliver this kind of message. How does using AI in Riders of the Pale go beyond just, fancy mimicry? It's not just a party trick, right?
No, not at all. That's the key point, I think. It's not used as some kind of gimmick or novelty. It feels like it's serving as a conduit, for intergenerational storytelling.
Hmm.
What's fascinating is how the piece achieves this poetic resurrection almost. It's like the message is being filtered through a digital consciousness,
So it's amplifying the past.
amplifying it without just repeating it, yeah.
Yeah.
It cleverly recontextualizes that turbulent spirit of the Doors in the 60s for our time, grappling with these new crises that feel, well, strangely familiar in some ways.
And that immediately brings up big questions.
Oh, absolutely. Questions about authorship, authenticity, artistic intent, the works.
Right, like can a machine really channel poetic truth?
Or is it just reflecting our own fears, our own dreams back at us? Maybe with uncanny precision, but still just a reflection.
So what does Riders of the Pale suggest?
Well, the piece itself seems to suggest that AI, when guided by human vision, can be both things. It could be a collaborator and maybe even a kind of oracle, whispering insights from the digital realm.
A collaborator and an oracle. That's quite a thought.
It is. So pulling it all together,
Yeah.
what does it all mean? After really sitting with Riders of the Pale, what struck me is how it shifts your perspective on what an ending even is.
Yeah.
It's not presented as some grand, announced event we're waiting for. It's more like a profound meditation on how systems can just fail silently, how spirits might just fade into the machine dreams. Essentially, the song seems to be arguing that the apocalypse isn't necessarily a future event.
Yeah.
But maybe it's a present condition, something we're already living through.
Wow. Okay, that connects directly back to that really provocative thought you sometimes hear. I think it's originally from Jonathan Nolan's Memento Mori, where he asks, everybody is waiting for the end to come, but what if it already passed us by? What if the final joke of Judgment Day was that it had already come and gone and we were none the wiser?
Exactly that. And Riders of the Pale feels like a chilling musical invitation to really reflect on that possibility.
So this deep dive, it really leaves you with this final thought, doesn't it? Maybe the storms are already here, maybe the writers have already passed by, and what's left is just the memory encoded in lyrics, in images, and now encoded in AI-generated code. This look at Riders of the Pale feels like a powerful call to listen closely before we forget how to hear it all.